Do you think someone can live here or here? It's a tough job. Today, however, I've gathered some unique and real homes for you that will simply shock you. Stay until the end to see the latest fashion trend with Dubai's semi-underwater houses, and we will get a little dizzy with these rocking houses. Let's start. An entire neighborhood on a bridge. This on your screens is the famous bridge with houses over the Liqian River in the huge metropolis of Chongqing, China. The houses are built in different styles such as Chinese, European, and even American. They are painted in the whole palette of cheerful colors. But their story is a bit sad. The Chongqing government built a little more bridges than the necessary minus 14,000 of them, and decided to transform one of those bridges by building homes on it and making people live in them as a tourist attraction. The bridge is called Linshi Village. There is a school, restaurants, cafes, and shops all over it. But since the government forced people to live there, all current residents are starting slowly to leave. Apparently, they don't like the idea of living in homes hanging dozens of meters above the river very much. They also don't believe in the quality of the construction. Otherwise, the bridge is 400 meters long, and in addition to the top, there are buildings below it. It is definitely an interesting sight. Monastery on top of a rock pillar. For 30 years, a monk from Georgia has lived on the top of this rock pillar in complete solitude. The height is about 40 meters, and climbing the vertical metal ladder takes about 20 minutes. At the foot is the Kaski Monastery, which is often visited by tourists, but only the monk can decide who to allow into his chambers on the top. Upstairs, he has a chapel, a room where he lives, and even a small wine storage. As you can imagine, there is no running water or any amenities. That's why the priest comes down at least twice a week to bathe and get provisions. Home on a highway. Sometimes when planning roads and highways, municipalities don't take the human factor into account. This leads to oddities when expropriating land like the ones on your screens, where people won't give up their homes. There are the ones who keep their ancestral homes and wouldn't move for anything in the world. The most famous case is of a Chinese woman who refused to move from her house and was brutally built into a highway. The woman simply didn't want any compensation, and that's why the builders had to surround her. I don't know if there are any winners in this case, because the owners also have to put up with the noise, and drivers having to drive around the properties. How would you act in their situation? Leave a comment. A capsule on a sheer cliff. What do you think of a glass house hung on a sheer cliff 400 meters above a sacred valley? Would you stay there even for one night? These capsules measuring 8 by 3 meters are located in Peru and offer incredible panoramic views. If, of course, you're not afraid of heights, you get to them by climbing a complex system of steel ropes. There's simply no other way, and you enter the capsule from above. Inside, by the way, it looks more like a tourist dormitory and can easily accommodate 4 to 5 people. One of the capsules has been converted into a restaurant where breakfast is served, and maybe this is the time to say that this is more like a hotel than a home and costs $500 for one night. The toilets are also quite interesting, and for number 1, you do in a pot that you have to take with you and throw away. And number 2 is collected in a container below. The descent back to the ground takes several zip lines. The experience is definitely not for everyone, but it's something different. Floating ghetto. This on your screens is a neighborhood of the largest Nigerian city, Lagos, known as Coco's Floating Ghetto. All the houses are built on stilts above the river and are in absolute misery. The ghetto is not small at all. As you can see from these drone shots, it is home to about 200,000 people. I guess I don't need to tell you that all the toilets empty directly into the river, and it is a downright contagious ecological disaster. A study in the UK shows that besides malaria and cholera, almost every disease transmitted by water is present there. Despite this, people simply refuse to leave, the largest floating ghetto in the world, because there is simply nowhere else to go. They are extremely poor there, and the average life expectancy is about 40 years. Some spend their entire lives in this neighborhood and move only by boats to the floating shops, cafes, and brothels. They even have a floating school. A truly unique place in the bad sense of the word, contrasting with the modern center of Lagos, the house on the Drina. One of the most iconic homes in Serbia is a house perched on a rock in the middle of the Drina River. It gained worldwide popularity after it was on the cover of National Geographic in 2012. The house was built by young people from the past who wanted to make an inaccessible home in which to rest after swimming. They slowly started carrying wood, and that's how they built it. The incoming waters of the river washed it away several times, but the locals always restore it because it is something like a landmark of the place. Today, no one lives in it, but it attracts many tourists who want to see it with their own eyes. Give a thumbs up in support of the video and tell me in the comments whether you live in a house or an apartment building. Let's continue. The beehive in the rocks. These cone-shaped rocks on your screens have been home to hundreds of Iranians for centuries. From afar, the village is known as Kondorvan, is like a beehive or an anthill. Despite the harsh living conditions resembling caves, many people refuse to leave it. On the contrary, they continue to improve it and thus turn it into a tourist attraction. The rocks were shaped this way thanks to a volcanic eruption, and the homes in them are made by hand. Almost every pyramid is a carved house, and a community of very young people lives there. The population is about 600 people. Some of these cones house 4-story homes, which have everything from bedrooms, toilets, bathrooms, and even workshops. Caves, as we know, are extremely energy efficient and do not require much electricity to control the temperature in the houses. Underground world in Romania. You would hardly have suspected that the Romanians hide an underground world inhabited by people. In Bucharest, there is a whole other city located under the feet of ordinary people. It remains invisible to them because it is housed in canals and tunnels. After Ceausescu fell from power, hundreds of people remain on the streets and look for a roof over their heads. They found the underground and thus established a whole underground city. Some of the people there live there for more than 10 years in these tunnels and only come out above ground in the dark. In reality, the tunnels are a system intended for central heating of the city, but it was never realized. The people living in them have order and follow some basic rules, although it is home mainly to drug addicts. Ordinary residents of Bucharest cannot enter there. Not that they want to, but outsiders are not welcomed. Rotating house. To make you dizzy, this on your screens is the famous revolving house in Rimini, Italy. It is balanced on a central column and can rotate in both directions, giving a 360-degree view. The house rotates thanks to the energy it receives from the solar panels on its roof. They follow the sun throughout the day. The architect says that at first he was surprised by the owner's strange requirement for a rotating house, but he took it as a challenge. However, nowhere does it say where the sewer pipes go and how exactly they rotate. Maybe there is some kind of system, or the bathrooms and toilets are located below. I only see that the staircase rotates with the house. It's good that the revolutions are slow so that you can go down and up on the move. Semi-submersible house. Semi-submersible houses are already on the market, in which 1 or 2 floors are above the water, but the bedroom, for example, can be located below it. It turns out that there is a huge market for such exotic homes, and the one whose bedroom you saw is for sale for $4.7 million. It is located in Dubai, and a whole neighborhood of similar houses is currently being built. The window below is 10 centimeters thick so that it can withstand the pressure, and the sofa can be replaced with a bedroom. The interesting thing is that the corals are attached to the floating house. It does not lie on the bottom. This, by the way, attracts fish and other life. Otherwise, you will just see a huge blue and cloudy infinity. By the way, there is the option to order a certain type of coral to decorate the underwater landscape. And this is another model of house, which has a terrace with sun loungers at the top, a living room and a bedroom below, and under the water is something like an observation deck. In case you constantly want to learn such interesting things, subscribe to the channel. The overpopulated island. This island on your screens is 4 times more densely populated than Manhattan in the USA. It is located 2 hours by boat from the coast of Colombia. Its area is the size of a football field and over 1,000 people live on it. This is Santa Cruz del Islota, and it is downright crowded. People live in complete misery, but still refuse to leave it. Wherever you go, you are constantly bumping into other people. And this guy, for example, works out next to dog excrement because there's no room on the island. There's no sewage system, and the military brings them drinking water once a day. The people there only have electricity for about 5 hours a day, and 10 people live in one room in pretty miserable conditions. Their houses, as you can see, are piled on top of each other, and there's laundry and trash everywhere. It started out as an island for fishermen who came with their families. More and more people, thanks to the rich catch, moved here and literally took over every inch. The isolated house. This is what's on your screens. The loneliest house in the United States. It is located in Washington state and is perched on one of the high peaks. It can be reached after a 50-kilometer hike. The place really looks unique, and many YouTubers have stayed there for a few days, just to experience the thrill. In fact, staying there is completely free, because it is run as a shelter. You just have to know that there may be other enthusiasts with whom to share the house. Located at an altitude of 2,100 meters and was built in the 30s thanks to a helicopter that brought the materials. Seasickness. These floating houses in Vancouver have been overtaken by waves, and look at how they shake. Imagine staying on the top floor at that moment. To be honest, I didn't even know that they built 3-story houses on the water. Apparently, however, floating homes are a normal thing for Canada, and people are constantly putting them on the water. There are entire wealthy neighborhoods with homes on the water. Apparently they don't have mosquitoes there. I just can't explain why they are so popular. In a more serious storm, however, everything has to be well secured to the floor because the upward displacement will be large. Thumbs up if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.